You were pretty critical of your team after the loss the other night. How have you approached it with them? I mean, is there a fine line between being too critical rather than encouraging, or how do you handle it?
I just try to be me. I just try to be real.
Which is, in this case, what does that amount to?
I mean, I said what I said. And, you know, I think when I first got into coaching, some of the best advice I got was be yourself. Everybody wants to have an opinion for, you know, how you should coach a team or how you should manage a team. I got to do what I feel like is best, and so I just try to be authentic. I thought we played, like I said, I'm not going to rehash everything I said. I said it once, and now we turn our attention to Notre Dame on Sunday.
Chris, have you ever dealt with a team dealing with this kind of lack of confidence in the second half before? And is there anything you as a coach can do, or is this just something that they've got to climb themselves out?
No, like I'm not, you know, just because I was critical doesn't mean that I'm not putting myself in the equation. You know, I didn't like the way that we played. I said that. But to say, hey, I'm putting it all on them, that's couldn't be further from the truth, man. I can't sleep. You know, you figure out ways to try to motivate the group. Just hard sometimes when you feel like, man, there's a lot to be playing for right now. What do we need outside of just that to find motivation? But again, that's my job, and we just got to try to be better in all areas, and got a great opportunity on Sunday to do just that.
How have you tried to motivate them? I mean, what have you done? What can you do at this point?
Just do everything that we put on the practice plan. You know, I feel like there's areas that we have to get better at. You know, I thought Steve made a huge jump forward with his interior presence, but again, we got to try to put our players in those situations in practice. But practice is different than games. You know, you could be working on the right thing, but the pressure is different in practice than it is in games. We have to respond better, and like I said, we've had times where we've done that. But that's what practice is for, is to work on those things.
So have you had to deal with kind of something similar to this with past teams that you've coached?
We went through a 6-game losing streak at Xavier a few years ago, and it was different because we had lost one of our main players through injury, and so we had to reinvent ourselves a little bit down the stretch. You know, when you lose, you know, a point guard that was as dynamic as Sumner was, you know, you have to sort of reinvent how you play. And, you know, with our offensive struggles here over the last 4 games especially, we may have to reinvent you know, some things that we do on the offensive end to get better looks, but ultimately got to be able to put the ball in the basket. You know, we talked about leading up to the Boston College game, hey, if you don't make your first shot, it's fine. Let's go get some second and thirds, and we get 18 offensive rebounds. So I think our heart's in the right place, but, you know, it seems like at times we're stuck in mud.
Chris, it seems like teams are really focused on Jordan and Kristen, you know, and trying to make it extremely difficult on those two these last several weeks. Are you seeing the same thing?
Well, I think if a team game plans, you're certainly going to take away the primary scorer. You know, Kristen's got the ball in his hand, so I mean, like, I don't feel like that's all of a sudden any different than it was 15, 20 games ago. You know, I think that we've had some guys that aren't playing as well now as maybe they played 10, 15 games ago. And so we've got to be able to win despite that. I remember when we were winning games earlier in the year, 15, 20 games ago, and I vividly remember being in the car and telling my wife, like, I still don't think that some of our guys are playing very well. And, you know, we don't need everybody on our team to be hitting on all cylinders, but, you know, our spirit's got to be there, and we do have to have some guys play a little bit better than they have been.
Why was Stephen able to have such a good game, do you think? What was he doing?
He was carving out space I thought he was aggressive going towards the basket with his interior moves. He didn't score an outside point, but yet he's effective, and I think our guys were looking for him. So we need more of the same as we move forward.
Speaking of reinventing, Mike's kind of had to do that with Notre Dame this year. What have you seen recently and how they're playing a little different?
Playing a little bit faster. I think that, rather than they'll walk the ball up even on an opponent's missed shot, I think they're playing a little faster. When you have a freshman point guard and you lose, one of the best players in the league early in the year, you have to reinvent yourself a little bit as well. But, their team still swinging. I mean, they're in every game that they play. They go to UVA. It's a one-possession game with under 30 seconds. Florida State, I thought, much like us, they were the better team for 90% of the game and didn't finish. So, he's doing a good job with probably the group he didn't expect to have at the beginning of the year in the way that they are.
John Mooney, how do you stop him from having such a big impact inside?
Well, you have to know that he's versatile inside and out. We're going to have to do it as a team. Some teams have chose to double team. Some teams sort of leave him, on his own. He can face you and get you in the air. He can shoot the ball. So he's a big challenge. And, whoever's guarding him has to do a great job of trying to limit his catches. And then the rest of us have to be cognizant of where he's out on the floor when he catches it.
Well, I'd say you can kind of tell sometimes in recent weeks when you might start going the direction they've been going. On the sideline, are there things that you see where you're like, okay, this is happening again, and I thought about ways to stop that?
Well, I would sort of edit your question, to my liking a little bit when you say when you see him going that way again. I think that's a woe is me attitude. Now, do I see things like materializing in the wrong direction? Absolutely. That's why you call timeout. That's why you try to, get a different player in, sub when you need it. But, ultimately, I think if you start thinking, oh, here we go again, that's just a bad way to look at things in athletics.
Senior day, what does this group of three guys mean to this team?
Mean a whole lot. They're not your conventional seniors. Nobody in this city knew who they were a year ago, with the exception of Okoye. And, to have the faith in our coaching staff, in this school, in this program, in the time that they chose to sign up for Louisville, means a lot. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to our coaching staff. I hope the fans are very, very appreciative. I'm not sure where we'd be without each of their contributions. Certainly Cece's on the floor as a primary point guard, and the show that he's run all year. I think if anybody would have said before the season started, hey, you're going to run an NCAA tournament team, I think everybody in the city would have signed up for that. But it's hard to see that maybe in the in the lens of the last 2.5, 3 weeks. But in the entirety, pretty damn good job by that kid. Quan, the same thing. For him to be, in my opinion, he's an all-ACC defensive player. And whether he gets that due or not, I don't know. I'm never one to sort of pound my table on the fist and say he should be voted on. But if you just look at the job he's done for the better part of the year, it's been impressive. And, I think because he's played like that, because he's been selfless, because he cares so much on the defensive end, our team has become a really good defensive team over the year, which we weren't when we started. And then Okoye, you don't see his contributions on the floor because he doesn't play as much, but to be accepting of that, to lend the words that he has to guys like Malik and Steve and quite honestly the rest of our team, it shows the maturity that he has to be able to put the team first. But those three mean a lot to our program and a lot to our coaching staff in general as we, started off our tenure here.
Kristen has talked about wanting to be a coach, and you just touched a little bit on it, but what sort of attributes do you think he has that would make him a good coach down the line?
Well, I think he's very well respected. I think he everybody gravitates to him, and I think you have to be a leader, obviously, to be an effective coach, and he's that as one of their peers. I think he also has a really good feel for the game. You know, a great IQ, a great mind for the game. I think he sees things on the floor that your average player doesn't see, and that certainly helps. You know, when you're a coach. But I think it all goes back to just the respect level that his teammates have for him to be a leader. That to me can translate into being a really effective coach if that's the path he chooses.
How is LaCoy? Is he health-wise? What's the
You know, honestly, I don't know because we were off yesterday, and you know, my take is it's day to day whether he can practice or not. You know, probably remains to be seen. His reps have been limited anyway because of the you know, entirety of the season. So find out here in a few minutes.
You mentioned that you had to reinvent yourself in 2017 when you had that losing streak. In this case, is it just as difficult that you lost a player? Now you have it, you're just working with the same group. Is it, you know, just as difficult to reinvent yourself? Or how do you?
Well, we don't have to completely reinvent ourselves. We just have to get better in a few areas. We have to find the belief in ourselves again. But you know, we have to, as a coaching staff, make a few tweaks that I think can help us on the offensive end. You know, when teams you know, take away, like you talked about, our primary options.
Anything else for Coach? Good.
Thanks.
Boys here.